guys, today we're going to do Excel Chapter 3 guided project. So make sure that you get your instructions downloaded and get your Excel spreadsheet downloaded from my IT lab. There is only one file, the one Excel spreadsheet file, and that's all that you need. Okay, in this chapter we are dealing with charting. You know, how can we display in a graphical format the data that we have. Few things that we'll be doing are we'll do like bar charts and pie charts. And this is a way, especially when you're doing presentations to people and you're wanting to show the trending of data or just an overview of the data, then these charts are very, very good, because a lot of times you don't want the specific numbers of things. You want to see the highs and the lows, or what is the highest and what is the lowest, and by how much, at least a general idea of how much. You know, is it 10%, if it's 15%, is it 50%? Visually, it makes it a whole lot easier than trying to look at all of the data together, the explicit data, and trying to figure it all out. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's start. On step 2, it says select the range F38 through G42. So F38, so down here at the bottom, F38 right here through G42. So our grade distribution. And we are going to create a pie chart. So I'm going to go in here to insert, and here is our group for charts. You have recommended charts, but then you have each of your individual types of charts. We want a pie chart. This is a pie chart. So I'm going to hit the down arrow, and we want just a standard pie chart. So I'm going to do this 2D pie chart, the first one. And we get this nice, pretty little chart with our distributions for A, B, C, D, and F. Okay, we are going to move the pie chart to its own sheet named Grades Pie. So I'm going to right-click on this pie chart, and I'm going to say Move Chart. And here I'm going to say a new sheet, and I'm going to call it Grades Pie. Make sure that's a capital P, and say OK. So now we have a separate sheet here that's called Grades Pie, and only that pie chart is on there. Okay, step 3, we are going to customize the pie chart with these specifications. So style 7, chart style. So here's your chart styles, and we want style 7, which is this one with the dark background. We want a 10% explosion. So what is an explosion? So explosion is where each of these little pies kind of come out, and there's space in between each of them. So to do this explosion, the explosion is done on the series itself. So the data that's making up this pie chart is called a series. And so we want to select the whole series in which to do it. So we don't want to explode only this one pie, this one piece of the pie. We want to explode the entire thing. So you need to make sure that when you click on this pie chart, that you have these data points here, and that they're all there. If you have it like this, where you only have the one piece of the pie that is selected, then only that piece of the pie is going to be exploded. And in our case, we want the whole thing to be exploded. I'm sorry, no we don't. We want a 10% explosion for the B grade slice. So there we go. I didn't read the instructions completely. So the B grade slice, so if we look down here, B is our red, so we want to select the red. So you're going to make sure that this data point this point and this point are selected and none other on your sheet. Once you do that, if this window is not already open, then you can click on this size here and it will open it up. You can also right click on here and say format data point, and it will open this up as well. But here you can see point explosion. That is what we want to change to 10%. And as you can see, as I'm doing this, you can see it brings it out. So we're highlighting that data point. Okay, and we do not want a legend. So this is our legend down here. So everything that's done on this to add and remove, you can do with this little plus sign right here. If I click this plus sign, you can see here's my chart elements, a chart title and a legend. And the legend, you can either put it the right, the top, left, bottom, and all sorts of other different options. Well, in our case, we don't want the legend. So we're just going to uncheck that checkbox. And so the legend goes away. Okay, step 4. It says type PSY 2030 final grade distribution fall 2018 as the chart title. So this is easy enough. Just double click on the chart title to select, make sure all that text is selected, and you're just going to type it in. Make sure that there's spaces between distribution and the dash and the dash and the fall. Remember that my IT lab is going to be very specific when it's grading it. If you don't have those spaces there, then it's going to think you haven't done it and it's going to grade it wrong. Okay, step 5, we are going to add centered data labels. So we got rid of our legend. So without our legend, we don't know what all of these colors mean, right? So we're going to add data labels. And so data labels, what it does is it's going to label each of these data points or each of these pieces of the pie. We're going to label each of those. So instead of having the legend, we're going to have those actual labels. The legend typically just tells you A, B, C, D, E, F, or A, B, C, D, F. The data labels, you have the option of actually putting in the actual values of those data points, as well as what those data points mean. So like for an A, the value is 4, if I remember the graph correctly. I don't remember. So you get that option of being able to do both. So we're going to add centered data labels. So to do this, we're going to hit the plus sign, but you can see here you've got data labels. Okay, so I'm going to check the data labels, but I'm going to hit this arrow here and I'm going to say center. Okay, and you can see how it puts those numbers in each of those data points. But we want to change these options of these labels. So I'm actually going to come here and say more options. And here's our format data labels, okay? So vertical alignment is middle, center, horizontal, so on and so forth. What I want really is here, our label options. Here we're showing value and show leader lines. What they're wanting us to do is to display the percentage and the category name and remove the value. So we don't want the value, we want the percentage. And then the category name. You can leave the show leader lines selected. You're only going to see those leader lines if the data labels come out here. So for instance, if I did outside end, or if I moved these, see how I get that leader line? But since we're doing center, then we're not going to need that leader line. So you can check it or you can uncheck it. It shouldn't matter. Okay. Next, we're going to apply a 20-point font size and apply black text 1 font color. Okay, so for this, we're going to go to, that's our fill, oh, sorry, text options. I think is what we're looking for. Not really. Okay, so with your data labels selected, and they're all in the center here, we're going to come up here to our basic fonts, and we want a 20-point font size, so it makes them all bigger. And we want to do a black text 1 color. So that is not the automatic. It looks the same, but it's not. We want the black text 1. There we go. Okay. So that is our pie chart. Step 7, select the range A7 to D12. So we're going to go back to our grades worksheet, and we want A7, so from A7 to D12. A7 to D12. So we want these right here. And we are going to create a clustered bar chart. So again, we're going to go to Insert, and we're going to go to our bar charts right here. And we want bar charts, and we want a, if you hover over them, it's going to say there's stacked bar, there's a clustered bar. That's what we want, clustered. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to move the chart to its own sheet. So again, right click and say Move Chart to its new sheet, and we're going to say Bar Chart. Okay, so now we have the chart on its own sheet. And then customize the bar chart with these specifications. So we want style 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be style 5. And we want the legend on the right side. So the legend right now here is on the bottom. So we're going to hit the plus sign. And we're going to go down to legend. And we're going to say right. So it puts it over here on the right. Perfect. Then we're going to type sample student test scores for the chart title. Okay. And then we're going to add data labels in the outside end position for the final exam series. So we only want the final exam series. We don't want the data labels for all the series. So because we've got 3 different series here, series 1 is final exams, unit test 2 is another series, unit test 1 is another series. We need to select only that series. So I'm going to actually click in here on the green bar, which is that series. Now I can add my data labels. So I'm going to say data labels, and I want it in the outside end position. And so you'll notice it only puts the data labels for that series and that series only. Okay, step 11. Display the grades worksheet. So we're going to go back over here to grades. And select the range E7 through F33. So E7 through F33. So we're selecting all of that attendance record and the final average. And we are going to create a scatter chart, and we're going to move it to its own sheet named scatter chart. So again, Insert tab. This is a scatter chart. Okay, so we're going to insert just a basic scatter chart. You'll notice some of them, see, that's a scatter with smooth lines and markers, so on and so forth. We just want a basic scatter chart. So we're going to do a scatter chart, and then we're going to move it to its own sheet called scatter chart. Okay, there we go. Now we make sure that the scatter chart is selected. Okay, we want to make sure that the scatter chart is selected. So this is step 12. So when they mean that, so right now my entire chart area is selected. We want just this area selected. Well, I say that, not the plot area, the entire thing. We want to change the title to be attendance dash final average relationship. Now again, this one, there is no space between attendance and the dash in final, so make sure you don't put that space in there. And then we want percentage of attendance as the primary horizontal axis title and student final average as the primary vertical axis. So this is our horizontal axis down here. This is our vertical axis here. These are our primary ones. If we had another data line, data numbers here, that would be our secondary. And same with up here, that would be our secondary. But we want our primary. So we're going to go to axis titles. And we want primary horizontal and primary vertical. So just check those and they'll see that they show up. So our primary horizontal, we're going to change that title to be percentage of attendance. And then this title, we're going to say student final average. Okay. Now we are going to change the settings for our axis. Okay. We want these numbers to be different, the starting points and the ending points, and our bounds. Okay, so to do this, we're going to actually come up here and say more options on our axes. So here's our format axis, and we want to go to our axis options. So our axis options, we want for the vertical axis, here's your vertical axis. Let's see. Okay, this is going to adjust both axes. So if we come up here and select our vertical axis, now we're going to be setting only our vertical axis. So our bounds, we want a 40 minimum bound and a 100 maximum bound. Make sure you don't put that, well, it put the 0.0 in there for you, so that's fine. And then we want 10 major units. So we already have that. You can leave the minor units as it is, but we want to label the number, or we want to change the number to only be 2 decimal points. And we want it to be a number. So right now it's a custom category, and we don't want that. We want it to be a number, and we want 2 or is that right? 0 decimal places. So we want 0 decimal places. Okay, so now you have where it goes from 40 to 100, and you have no decimal places. And you have tick marks every 10. So that's what the units means. You're changing your tick marks, or adding tick marks to, you're labeling each tick mark, and you want each tick mark to represent the number 10. Okay, now the horizontal axis. So I'm going to come down here and click on the horizontal axis. So make sure that these numbers are selected, and we want a 40 minimum bound and a 100. Okay, and then automatic units, which it's already set. Just leave that as it is, and this is automatic. Okay, and then we want to change the font size for step 12. we want to apply the font size to the vertical axis title. We come to our home tab. So if we go here and just say 12, it actually does all of them. So because we want to do the vertical axis title, which is here, the vertical axis, which is this, the horizontal axis title, which is this one, and the horizontal axis. But the problem is it also changed this one. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to have to come in here and select each one of these and change the font size to 12. Because it does not tell us to change the font size of the title of the chart, just the axes and the tick marks. Okay, then it says to bold the chart title and the 2 axis titles. So the chart title I'm going to bold, and the 2 axis titles I'm going to bold. Okay, so we're good there. And then I'm going to add the parchment texture fill to the plot area and insert a linear trend line. So we want the plot area. We want to add a texture to this plot area. So where these lines are is our plot area. The entire chart is our chart area. So I'm going to select my plot area. That's my plot area. And I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to say picture or texture fill. And we want to add a texture. We want the parchment texture. That's stationary. There's parchment. Okay, so we got that light tannish, yellowish texture behind it. And then we also want to add a linear trend line. Okay, so we're going to go in here and go to trend line, and we're going to say linear. So now we have our linear trend line in. Okay, now we're going to display the grades worksheet, step 18, and select the range B8 to D33. So B8 to D33. And then we're going to create a line spark line and put it in this column here. So what a line spark line does is it puts in this cell a little, like a miniature graph. So I'm going to come in here to insert, and here you have spark lines, and you have a line spark line. So the data range is, B8. So I selected the wrong things. You can just change that to B, to D33. And then our location range is going to be H8 through H33. And then click OK. And you'll see you have 3 points, 1, 2, 3. We are going to change the sparkline color to purple. So here's our sparkline color, and we're going to change it to purple. And then that's it. You're going to ensure that the worksheets are correctly named and placed in the following order. So you should have grades pie, and then bar chart, and then scatter chart, and then grades. Once you're done with this assignment, and you can save it and submit it. I hope y'all have a great day, and I will see you next project.